And I share my screen. Please let me know, Pallavi, if the screen is visible or not. Is my screen visible? Thank you, thank you, thank you, Pallavi. So once again, good evening, all of you. And we are here with the sixth class for the teaching aspect of EMRS 2025 of Tier 1 examination. And in this session, we are going to cover learners' characteristics 2, right? In these learner characteristics, we'll be specifically looking into cognitive theories. And these cognitive theories are given by Piaget and Vygotsky. These are two very famous names that you might have heard throughout your teacher education program. So let's dive deeper and understand who is Jean Piaget, what is his theory, and who is Lev Vygotsky, and what has he talked about. So before we go, please subscribe to our Tej Academy app. As soon as you subscribe, whenever we post a new video, you'll get the notification of it. And other than videos, you also post here flashcards, major information, and other recent updates that are there. And also, you can download the Tej Academy app from Google Play Store, or you can just scan the QR present on the screen and download the Tej Academy app. In the Tej Academy app, you'll find detailed notes of the sessions that we take here. Other than detailed notes, you can also attend examinations, that mock tests are there, then chapter-wise MCQs are present, and a lot of other information is there that you can make use of by downloading our Tej Academy app. So, let us start with today's session, that is Jean Piaget and Lev Vygotsky. So we all know that Piaget Swiss, was a Swiss person belonging to Switzerland, whereas Vygotsky was a Russian. And what Piaget said, Piaget saw the children as little scientists. Okay, very important to note here how Piaget viewed the students, viewed the children. And also very important in information as I'm talking about this, I would like to share is Piaget experimented on his own children in his backyard. Right? This might have already been told to you by the teachers, right? So we have to start this session by also thinking about very particular things. For example, if you have ever wondered how a 5-year-old or why a 5-year-old struggles with a particular concept that a 10-year-old just finds very simple to do. Let it be a small, simple addition problem that is there. A 5-year-old will think a lot, hold his fingers or her fingers, and they'll be like confused. Okay, how much is it? Whereas a 10-year-old will quickly tell you the answer regarding what is the answer. Or we might have also thought about how a student grasps a difficult problem, right? Once they discuss with their classmates. So there are a lot of things. So the answer to this lies in the cognitive development, the development that happens in our brain. That is why we are focusing in this session on two major giants. And let me tell you, there are lots of questions asked every year from these two giants' theory, right? Jean Piaget and Lev Vygotsky. So Piaget saw the children as little scientists, constructing their own, constructing knowledge on their own through interaction with the world, right? Whereas Vygotsky saw the children as social apprentice, that is, learning through collaboration and guidance from others, from the social environment. So it's very important for us to understand both of these perspectives in detail. So we'll start with Piaget. So Piaget gave the theory of cognitive development, right? In the examination, if you are asked with a question regarding who gave the theory of cognitive development, right? It is Jean Piaget. And this theory is a cornerstone for constructivism. This is one thing that you have to remember, that Piaget's theory is the cornerstone for constructivism. And the core concepts that he covered was how do we build knowledge, right? So Piaget, as I told earlier, was a Swiss psychologist who believed that children are not just miniature adults. right? Children are not someone like miniature adults who think less. It's like they think in a fundamentally different way. The way children think is very different, and based on how children think at each stage, he has given different stages. And his theory is the cornerstone, the main aspect for constructivism. We all know constructivism means how learners build their own knowledge, right? That is what constructivism talks about. Just give me 1 minute, please. Yes. So the core concept that he gave was how we build knowledge. So what Piaget did is he proposed that we organize our information into mental frameworks called schema. So inside our brain, we have different frameworks or the neural connections that are present in our brain. Those are which store which organize information. For example, if we can take the example of a file. You have a file, right? And you organize information in the file. Similarly, in the brain, we have something called as a schema, right? This schema organizes information into mental frameworks. So, as I give the example, you can think of schema or blueprints of understanding the world. You will give an example. A toddler has a schema of a dog, right? So, what is the schema that a child might have of a dog is a animal with four legs, which is furry and has a tail that it wags, right? That is the schema for the example of a dog for a toddler, for a young child. So we adapt these schemas through processes, right? So different processes to achieve a state of mental balance. We are adapting this schema through different processes by viewing, by smelling, by touching, right? There are different processes that we do through which we are adapting the schemas. So this achieving a state of mental balance is called equilibration. Okay, we adapt these schemas through different processes. And what Piaget has said, he has talked about two major processes through which we adapt, right? So he has named this as equilibrium, and under equilibrium, there are two. The first one is assimilation. Now, what is this assimilation? Assimilation is fitting new information into our existing schema. Now, I just took the example of a dog, right? A child has a schema of dog. Now, if a child sees a Labrador, for example, a child has seen only a indie dog or the we call them street dogs, right? So that dog, but now the child has seen a Labrador. So this Labrador fits into the category of doggy that it thought. It too has four legs. It also has a furry body and it also has a tail, right? So here they assimilate. Here they assimilate and say, "Oh yes, this is a dog." So this is assimilation. Second one is accommodation. What is accommodation? Modifying our existing schema or creating new ones to fit information that does not align with what we already know. Again, I'll take the same example. The dog knows about the child knows about a dog. Now the child sees a cat. The cat also has four legs. The cat is also furry. The cat also has tail, but it meows. It does not bark, right? And its face is also a little different. The size is also a little different. So what happens? This creates a disequilibrium in the brain of the child, as per Piaget, right? And also, if the child is asking someone, they say, no, no, it's not a dog, it's a cat. So what the child has to do? The child must accommodate this new information by creating a new schema in the brain that is different from the dog schema, that is cat. So this is what is assimilation and accommodation. Any doubt here? Anything you want me to explain again? Yes? You want me to explain anything? Okay, we'll move on to the next one then. Let us now talk about Piaget's four stages of cognitive development. Okay, Pallavi, you want to know about schemas again, right? Wait. Yeah. See, schema is nothing but how we organize information in our brain, right? So what Piaget said, we organize information into our mental framework in our brain. This organized information is called schema. You have schema of lots of things. For example, I took the example of dog and told you have a schema of dog. What is that schema? The schema contains basic information regarding how do we classify an animal as dog. You might have a schema of a laptop, you might have a schema of a board, you might have a schema of a person, how humans, like that, of different things that are there. We have information, and whatever that is similar to it, we associate and we assimilate it. That is where assimilation comes. And whatever that is different from what we already know. So we have to create new schema, right? That is accommodation. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So moving on to the next one. Let us come into the very important part, that is Piaget's four stages of cognitive development. And when I was taking the class about adolescence and I was talking about the cognitive development in adolescence, and I talked about formal operational stage, right? So Piaget proposed four stages of cognitive development, how the brain develops. And for each stage, he has given keywords. The first one is sensory motor stage, which is from birth to 2 years. Please remember, very important, the sensory motor stage is from birth to 2 years. So if a question comes in the examination about Piaget's sensory motor stage, which age group does it talk about? So you have to remember that it is from birth to 2 years. Then, how do they think? Through senses and motor actions. Please don't confuse with how do they think means not in that way. How do they collect information? How do they know things? That is through senses and through different actions here. Okay, which is very important. So, one of the major thing at the end, by the end of the sensory motor stage, that is by the end of from birth to 2 years, by the time the child reaches 2 years, they develop something called as object permanence. Right? What is this object permanence? This is the understanding that objects continue to exist even when they cannot be seen. I'll give you a very nice example of this. Have you played with small children? You all might have played with small children at any of the other point of your life, right? You see that when you show them something, small children that is who are 1 year old, something like that, you show them something and then suddenly you remove them. They start searching, where did it go? Where did it go? They will not be able to understand that you hid it somewhere, right? So this object permanence talks about the ability to understand that objects continue to exist even when they are not to be seen. So by the end of this 2 year stage, they should be able to develop the ability. That is, if you are removing something suddenly in front of in front of them, they should think that it is there. The object is there. That thing is, it is hidden somewhere or taken behind the hand. So as they start, becoming older, they start looking behind your hand. They start looking behind the blanket or somewhere behind. But as small children who are very small, they get confused. So that is object permanence. So before object permanence, the baby thinks a toy has vanished, right? When you hide it under the blanket. But by the time 2 years, they will lift the blanket and see, yeah, there it is. That is object permanence. Any doubt here? Please ask if you have any doubt. So the key concepts that we need to remember here is the stage name, that is a sensory motor stage. Remember, sensory motor stage is the first stage of the four stages of cognitive development that Piaget proposed, right? And how here the information processing happens, that is through senses and through motor actions, that is touching, seeing, tasting, and all. And by the end of this or during the sensory motor stage, they develop something called as object permanence. That is, they'll able to understand that even if an object is removed from in front of them, it exists somewhere. Yes, any doubt here? Let us move on to the next stage. The next stage is pre-operational stage. So this stage is from 2 to 7 years. The first one was sensory motor stage. The second one is pre-operational stage from the age of 2 to 7 years. So how do children think here? in the sensory motor stage. The children, symbolic thought develops in the pre-operational stage. Symbolic thought develops. That is, they develop language. They develop pretend play, but their thinking is not logical yet. So language means they start talking, they start having conversations, and this is the stage where they do this pretend play. You might have seen small children. They will like, I will become father, you become mother, and they start playing. They'll take roles. I'll pretend to be dad, you pretend to be mother. Or they will do play this cooking games, right? They'll sit with their plastic cooking set and they'll pretend as if they're cooking like the mother or father, the cooking like father. That all things happen here. So this is the pre-operational stage. But the very important thing is their logical thinking is not yet developed, right? So the thinking that is there, it is not logical. So there are some limitations for this stage because of which the thinking is not logical. So what are these limitations? There are three limitations. First one is egocentrism. Second one is animism. And the last one is centration. So what is this egocentrism? The ability to see a situation from another person's perspective, right? Children at this age, from 2 to 7 years, in the pre-operational stage, do not have the ability to see a situation from other person's perspective. That is egocentrism. They believe everyone sees the world as they do, right? That is the limitation here. The second limitation is animism. What is animism? The belief that inanimate objects have feelings and intentions. So objects that are not living also have feelings and also have some kind of intention. So they always make statements, no, that when their doll falls down or when their water bottle falls down, they pick it up, they play with it, they make they what to say, they calm it up. They say, please don't cry, it's okay, it's okay. So with inanimate objects also, they think that they have feelings and intentions. And what is centration? Centration is the tendency to focus on only one aspect of a situation at a time, right? They will not be able to focus on multiple abilities at a time. When you grow adults, when you become adults, right, you can do multitasking at a single time. You can wash, you can wash dish like for example, if I'm washing dishes, I can wash my dishes while listening to the TV or some other, for example, a match is going on. I can still listen to the match commentary while washing the dishes. Or when I'm playing, I'm able to respond to other person also while be able to catch the ball. So this is nothing but the ability to do multiple things. But this is not there at the second stage. That is the pre-operational stage. That is centration, the tendency to focus only on one aspect of a situation at a time. So this leads to an inability to conserve. Any doubt here for pre-operational stage? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. The third one is concrete operational stage. Concrete operational stage is from age 7 to 11 years. So how do they think in the concrete operational stage? Here logical thought appears, right? Logical thought appears at this stage, but this logical thought is only for concrete physical objects and events. This logical thought is still not into the imagination level. It's only for the concrete physical objects and events that they have observed, that have happened in front of them. Now, but then here two major achievements happen at this stage. The first one is conservation. What is this conservation? They understanding the ability that they develop. They understand that quantity, mass, volume remain same despite change in appearance, right? We'll take the classic example of pouring water from a glass that is very wide into a thin, tall glass, right? When we ask younger children, they say water is more in the thinner glass than the wider glass. But when poured, they are same. So the children at concrete operational stage are able to say that no, both have similar amount of water. So they develop the understanding of quantity, mass, or volume, right? And they can understand that all these things remain same despite the change in appearance. The second one is seriation. What is a seriation? This is the ability to sort objects in an order along a dimension, right? So if you'll ask someone to make others stand in line, they'll be able to make them stand in line from short to the all, or if you'll give them something to arrange, right? They'll arrange in the order of their size or whatever it is, they'll be able to seriate or seriate objects. That is seriation. So this is the concrete operational stage. If you have any doubt, if you want me to repeat anything also, please ask. I'm very happy to repeat anything for you. I hope concrete operational stage is also clear. Let us move on to the next one, that is the formal operational stage. I discussed about this stage when I was talking about adolescence, right? So this is from 11 years and up. Formal operational stage is the last stage of Piaget's cognitive development theory, and this is from 11 years and up. How do they think here? The thinking becomes abstract, hypothetical. They are able to form hypotheses and try to test them. And the thinking becomes systematic. Very important. These keywords are very important for the formal operational stage, that is the last stage. So what are the key achievements that happen here in this stage? First one is abstract thought. What is this abstract thought? The ability to think about concepts. What concepts? Concepts like justice, concepts like morality, concepts like identity. So these abstract thoughts develop in the formal operational stage. And they also develop something called as hypothetical deductive reasoning, right? What is this hypothetical deductive reasoning? Hypothetical deductive reasoning talks about the ability to think like a scientist. So they'll be able to form a hypothesis, right? What will happen if I'll mix oil in water? Then they'll try to test and see. Then they'll come to a conclusion that these two do not mix because of different properties or something like that, right? So the ability to form hypothesis and test it is hypothetical deductive reasoning. And this is from 11 years and up, the formal operational stage. So it is very important for you to remember the stage names and the age that they connect to. So if you look here, the first one, Piaget's four stages, the first one is sensory motor stage, that is from birth to 2 years. The major word that you need to remember here is object permanence. The second one is pre-operational stage, 2 to 7 years. Here the key limitations are there. So how the thing thought develops, symbolic thought develops, but still the limitations are egocentrism, animism, and centration. The third one is concrete operational stage. Here logical thought appears, and achievements are conservation and serration. And the last one, age 11 and up, is formal operational stage. They start developing abstract thinking, right? Abstract thought. They start thinking about concepts like justice or freedom and other things. So these are the four stages of Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Any doubt till here? Any doubt till here? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Pallavi. So we'll move on to the next one. Very important. The next person, Lev Vygotsky. So Lev Vygotsky gave the socio-cultural theory. So as I said before, he is a Russian psychologist. He offered a powerful counterpoint to Piaget. Piaget said that everything happens in brain, right? And it is happening at an individual level. But what Piaget says is, Piaget argues that cognitive development is not an individual journey, but a socially mediated process, right? What does he mean by socially mediated process? We learn through our interactions with others in our culture. Learning just not happens at the individual level. Learning happens through interaction with others. Here, he also has given different concepts, right? He has talked about the first one, ZPD. You all might have heard about this in your B.Ed course, the zone of proximal development, the ZPD. What is ZPD? ZPD is the sweet spot for learning. What is this sweet spot? What is the zone of proximal development? It is the gap between what a learner can already do independently, right? It is the gap between what a learner can already do independently and what they can achieve with guidance and support from a skilled partner. This skilled partner can be a teacher, can be a parent, and also can be a friend. So what is the zone of proximal development? So it's a gap between what learner can already do and what he can achieve. So with the support of a skilled partner, when there is a support of a skilled partner, right? The skilled partners are you also called with some other name. Do you remember? Can anyone help me out with that? Vygotsky gave one more name for that. The skilled people who have more knowledge. I gave first two words of the second thing. Okay, no issues. So these are the more knowledgeable others. So when a child is able to get support from more knowledgeable others to do something, that zone is called zone of proximal development. The child is at the zone where maximum development can happen because they have support from others in the learning environment, right? So if we go ahead, here comes the more knowledgeable others, the MKO. Remember, MKO stands for more knowledgeable others. This is given by Lev Vygotsky. And ZPD is also given by Vygotsky. ZPD means zone of proximal development, right? So what is this MKO? MKO or more knowledgeable other is anyone who has better understanding or higher ability than the learner's level, right? Higher ability level than the learner. This is with respect to a particular task, process, or even a concept. So this MKO can be anyone, right? The MKO can be a teacher, the MKO can be an adult, an expert, or even more. Like a competent peer also can be an MKO. And in the present world, in the modern world where we are, the technology is all around us, even the computer program or a YouTube tutorial that talks about something can also be an MKO or a more knowledgeable other. So I hope you are clear with the concept of ZPD and MKO, zone of proximal development, and who are these more knowledgeable others. And when do a child get into the zone of proximal development? Now, there are a lot of other terms also that Vygotsky has talked about. First one is scaffolding. This is something that we all have heard. Teacher's role is as a facilitator, and what does teacher do in facilitation? They scaffold. But what is this scaffold? So scaffolding refers to temporary support given to the learner. By whom? By an MKO to help them complete a task within the ZPD. So for a learner, when a MKO is present for the learner to do a particular task, then scaffolding take place. So scaffolding is providing a temporary support. If you remember the old NCRT textbook, they have very nicely talked about what is the meaning of scaffolding. They are given an analogy also. When a construction is happening, they give the wooden sticks are put no to give support to the building until this concrete becomes strong and the building is able to stand on its own. The wooden support is given. That is called scaffolding. Similarly, for learning also, where such support is given to learners to make their understanding concrete. After the understanding is done, the support is gradually removed. As given here, as the learner's competence grows, the support is gradually removed. Okay, so this is scaffolding. If I take an example here, what I can say is a teacher first has given a particular maths problem to solve for the children. Then they give problems and cues, right? What happens first? The teacher is giving them problems and cues to solve the problem. Then they let the students solve the problems in groups. You, people to students together, you sit and solve the problem in groups. And finally, you solve the problem independently. So if you can see at each step, the scaffold is removed. The level of scaffolding is removed. So this is what Vygotsky talked about. That is scaffolding. So if we'll take one more example, you are trying to learn a you're trying to learn to ride a bicycle. Okay, you're trying to learn to ride a bicycle, and there are things that you cannot do, right? For example, you cannot ride it as it is. You're learning, but the things that you can do is you can try to sit on the bike, right, or the cycle. So when does the ZPD occur? Zone of proximal development happens when you can ride the bicycle, but there is a help available. The help can be in the form of training wheels or in the form of an MKO. For example, your friend or your parents or who is holding your cycle when you try to ride, right? That is the analogy for ZPD that I was trying to give here. I hope this is clear. Scaffolding. Moving on to the next one, that is the role of language. Vygotsky has also said that language is the most important tool for cognitive development, right? For the development in brain, language is very important. And he gave the word private speech. He believed that private speech, what is private speech? Children talking to themselves. You might have seen small children mumbling, mum, 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 mum. They shout, right? They say, so this is not a sign of immaturity, right? But it is a way for them to guide their own thinking and behavior. So when a child does that, you should not think that the child is doing something stupid, right? Nothing like that. The child is trying to learn, right? This private speech eventually becomes internalized and silent inner thought. We all now do not think in our head. We do think in our head. We do not just say everything out. But for children to develop that thing, they start with mumbling and doing all these things. So this is what he has talked about, role of language and private speech is that nothing but children talking to themselves. Okay. Please remember the meaning of private speech is children talking to themselves. So with this, we complete both the very important theories from which always questions have come. That is Piaget's theory of cognitive development and Lev Vygotsky's sociocultural theory. Now let us move on to questions. Yes. The first question is, a young child insists that the sun is hiding behind the clouds because it is shy. This is an example of which limitation of pre-operational stage. Yes. Think over it. The child insists that sun is hiding behind the clouds because it is shy. Yes, pre-operational stage. In pre-operational stage, that is egocentrism, animism, and centration. So the correct answer here, yeah, very good, Pallavi. That is correct. Animism is the correct answer here, right? We were discussing about animism. What is animism? It is a belief that inanimate objects, non-real objects, right? They also have feelings and intentions. So here in this question, the example for which limitation of pre-operational stage, this is animism. Correct. Thank you. Moving on to the next one. Vygotsky's concept of ZPD, zone of proximal development, refers to a range of tasks a child can perform completely independently, a point at which a child's cognitive development reaches its peak, the gap between what a child can do alone and what they can do with assistance, the stage where a child has fully internalized social speech. Yes. So the person has not put his name. Realme has said C. Pallavi also said C. Others? So yes, you both are correct. ZPD talks about the gap between what a child can do alone and what they can do with assistance. This gap is known as ZPD. Correct. Let us move on to the next question. A teacher provides hints, prompts, and breaks down a complex task into smaller steps to help a student succeed. This teaching strategy is known as assimilation, scaffolding, equilibrium, modeling. Yes. A teacher provides here hints, prompts, and breakdowns complex tasks. The teacher is giving some kind of support here. Yes, correct answer. Both of you are correct. The correct answer here is scaffolding. The teacher is providing a particular type of scaffold here to the learners. Thank you. We'll move on to the next one. According to Piaget, the process of changing an existing schema to adapt to new information is called assimilation, accommodation, conservation, creation. Yes, Piaget talked about assimilation and accommodation, if you can remember. When we were talking about mental balance, that is called equilibration, there is assimilation and accommodation. Now, which one is correct in that? So Pallavi says it's B. Yes, the correct answer, you are correct. It is B, the accommodation. If you'll recall, assimilation is fitting new information into existing schemas, right? Accommodation is modifying our existing schema and creating new ones to fit the information that does not align with what we already know. So you are correct. Let us move on to the next question. Which of the following scenarios best illustrates Piaget's concept of object permanence? A child understands that a ball of clay has the same mass even when flattened. A baby actively searches for a toy after it has been hidden under a blanket. A teenager is able to debate the concept of freedom. A child can arrange a set of different size rocks in order from smallest to largest. Yes. Object permanence. It comes at which stage? The first stage of that is sensory motor stage. Really think about it. In sensory motor stage in object permanence, I was talking about how a baby tries to search something that is all not there, right? For a very young child, if you show something and remove, they think that the object has gone. But by the end of the this during the sensory motor stage, they start understanding that when it is removed, it is somewhere, but right not in front of them. So that is object permanence developed during sensory motor stage. And the correct answer here is option 2. Okay. The child arranging a set of different size rocks that comes in the different this thing itself, right? Different stage itself. Moving on to the next question. The primary difference between Piaget and Vygotsky theories is that Piaget emphasized dash while Vygotsky emphasized dash. First one, social interaction, individual discovery. Second, cultural tools, biological maturation. Third, individual discovery, social interaction. Fourth one, cognitive stages, emotional development. So Pallavi says it's C. What about the other person? You can please change your name by clicking on three dots and adding your name there. Yes. So we'll not waste any further time. So Piaget talked about individual discovery, whereas Vygotsky said that social interaction is necessary for the cognitive development. So the correct option here is option C. The primary difference between Piaget and Vygotsky's theory is Piaget emphasized individual discovery, whereas Vygotsky emphasized social interaction. Let's move on to the next one. In a Vygotskian classroom, who or what could be considered a more knowledgeable other? That is MKO. Only the certified teacher, the textbook or official curriculum, a more skilled peer, the teacher, or even a computer program, the student's own prior knowledge and experiences. So, who or what could be considered as an MKO in a Vygotskian classroom or according to Vygotsky? Really think about it again. Please read the question again. Who could be considered as MKO? So what did we discuss about MKO in the session today? An MKO is a person, is anyone, not a person, is anyone who has better understanding or higher ability level than the learner with respect to a particular task, process, or concept. And an MKO can also be, in the modern world, I said the MKO can also be a computer program or a seminar that you're attending, or even a YouTube tutorial. So here the correct option is option C, a skilled peer, the teacher, or even a computer program. Okay, no problem. Even if you're getting the answer wrong, it's not a big deal. But practice, you will be able to understand. Also go to our notes, because in notes we have given very detailed discussion about every single point that we have made. Moving on to the next one, a child who can think logically about concrete events and has mastered conservation but cannot yet think in abstract terms is in which of Piaget's stages? Sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, formal operational. Yes. Pallavi says it's C. Nagaraju says it's A. Nagaraju sensory motor stage is the first stage of development from infancy to 2 years. So logical uh, thinking will not be developed in sensory motor stage, right? So the correct answer here, as Pallavi and I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but you have put it as Realme. It is concrete operational, right? If we'll go back and look into what is this concrete operational stage, here logical thought appears, but it is only for concrete physical objects and events, right? It is not for other abstract things. So the correct option here is concrete operational. Moving on to the next question. A child talking to herself out loud to guide her actions while solving a puzzle is an example of what Vygotsky called egocentric speech, private speech, social speech, telegraphic speech. Yes, private speech, it is said by. Can you please put your name in the chat box, Mr. Realme? I mean, the name that you have joined here with. What about others? Pallavi also says B. Yes. So you both are correct, as Vygotsky very clearly said that, I'm sorry, he talked about something called as private speech. So private speech is nothing but children talking to themselves. It is not a sign of immaturity, but it is a way for them to guide their own thinking and behavior. That is a practice that is done by younger children. So the correct answer here is private speech. Yes. Moving on to the last question, I believe. Yes. A student believes that a tall, thin glass holds more water than a short, wide glass, even after seeing the water poured from one to the other. This child has not yet mastered the concept of. Yes. Come to Piaget. Think where this comes. So Pallavi and Kavita has said it's option D, conservation. What about others? So if we'll try to remember what we discussed today in conservation, understanding of quantity, mass, or volume remains same despite the change in appearance. And under which stage of the cognitive development theory given by Piaget does it come under? Can anyone put it in the chat box? The option given is correct. Conservation is the right answer. But under which stage does conservation come? So conservation comes under concrete operational stage. right? 7 to 11 years. Here's where logical thought appears, but only for concrete objects, physical objects, and events. And there are two key achievements in concrete operational stage, if you can remember, they are conservation and creation. So with this, we complete our today's session. Thank you so much for actively participating in the session and asking your doubts and uh, giving you this thing. I would suggest you to ask more doubts, get clarification, and even if you want us to repeat anything, please let us know. I will repeat it even in the session when you're not understood and you are having confusion. You can ask us for multiple examples or different ways in which we can make it clear for you. I hope these sessions are helping you out. Thank you so much for attending today's session, and please. Go back to our notes and have a look at our detailed notes, because there a lot of explanation is given which in a very easy to understand form. The notes are put. The notes are not heavy or pretty very large, or we have not just dumped paragraphs there. We have made it point wise, and we have kept it very precisely. So Pallavi has said that it will be helpful for me if you conduct the class at 6 p.m. Surely, Pallavi. Thank you so much. Today, because of some other work that is scheduled, we had to keep the class at 5 p.m., but we'll try to keep our class 6 p.m. or later than that. Thank you so much for the suggestion. Thank you, all of you.